Hey everyone, welcome to Watch It Paint It. In this video we're going to test some of the sort of durability of these new speed paints by the Army Painter. Now, if you're unaware, but you probably, if you use contrast, you're quite aware, it seems to rub off quite easily. You seem to be able to take the paint off of the miniature as you're still painting the rest of it. I've always had that problem with all paint. In fact, I use a hobby holder to try and avoid ever touching my miniature as paint's applied. Guys, I'll put a link in the description below if you want to check that out. Quite a few people are asking me about that. So people are asking in the comments below to do a scratch test the durability of the new speed paints versus contrast. So this is a perfect miniature to do it. We've got a bit of each on this. We've got contrast on the left each time and speed paints on the right. Now I was actually going to ask Mike to do this because he's just painted up a bunch of miniatures too, and it would be nice to get him talking more than me and give my voice a rest. But ultimately he's just varnished all of his, so he's not going to have this problem, which is a shame because he's much better at rubbing things off than I am. I'm not entirely sure how to test this, but essentially I'm just going to manhandle these miniatures for about 5 minutes. I'll time it, 5 minutes each, just rotating them around, touching all of the paint, just getting my grubby little fingers all over it, and then we'll have a look to see if that made a difference and assess from there. Hopefully just touching it is, this is way more than I would ever touch any miniature while I'm painting it, so I'm exaggerating how much I'm touching it, but essentially this is what we're doing, isn't it? Rotating it round and round and groping our miniatures a little bit while we're applying the next levels of paint. Guys, I just touched up plastic for 15 minutes. This is hard, sharp plastic. My fingers freaking hurt. Guys, hurt your fingers by smashing that like and subscribe button below to share my pain a little bit. Anyway, let's have a little bit of a look at these. And ultimately, I think the speed paint is slightly winning, but there is a but here. And that is, I think, unfortunately, there's more raised parts on the left-hand side. I think, you've got that big skull, you've got bony knees, things like that. So I think it's proving to be a bit of an unfair test, given that contrast took the brunt of the more raised bits. I also think the flames are more prominent, more sticky outy on the contrasty side. So that's unfortunate, but I'm going to, don't listen to me, just judge for yourselves. Have a good look, see what you think, how we're doing. I think we need to up the test. That was extreme, by the way. I do not touch my miniatures anywhere near that amount when I'm actually painting. So this is a very good showing of how, an extreme example. So for the next bit, I'm going to pop these in my pocket and just take them for a walk and let my jeans hopefully do some of the work for us. Really just want to grind this down a lot so we can hopefully, push it and see which one comes off more, try and get a more fair test over a larger period of time, and more surface being touched. So off I go. So a 5-kilometer walk later, and we can see that these miniatures have taken an absolute beating in my pocket. Guys, I am going to call it time on this experiment. I think we've seen enough. Let's have a goosey gander at these, and we can see that, give or take, I would say, both the contrast and speed paint have worn away equally. There's a whole bunch of bits that they've overworn. It's nowhere near the amount of wear you would really get. You can see the actual primers come off in X number of places, but where the primer hasn't come off and it's just rubbed away the paint, I think it's about the same on both the contrast and the speed paint. So without trying to waste anybody else's time, I think we can say that they give or take, they're the same. Obviously, have a look yourselves and see what you think, if you can notice any difference, especially before the walk. Maybe it was a little bit more one way or the other. Let us know in the comments below. Essentially, there's going to be 3 things I think we can recommend from this. 1 is don't put miniatures in your pocket. 2 is use some sort of holder when you're painting miniatures with either contrast or speed paint. Something like the hobby holder, which I regularly use both on the channel and in my own time. It is my go-to miniature holder at the moment. And then the 3rd thing is, as soon as you're painted, as soon as you're done, or even just with the contrast layer, get some varnish on these miniatures. That's going to seal in the paint and protect it. And if you can do it sort of sub-paint job, I wanted to say sub-assembly, but just if you do the base layer and you're at a point where you could add a matte varnish, then I think that's going to protect the contrast going forwards, and you're going to be able to paint normal paint on top of it for your details, highlights, that sort of thing. Anyway, guys, that's enough for this test. Let us know in the comments below if you can think of anything else that would be useful for us to look at.